So you see a title like FBI called, and you're probably thinking, what on earth happened? Well, this is a truly wild story. We're talking about a hidden software bug, a massive blockchain crisis, and yeah, a call to the FBI. We're going to break down exactly how one single transaction literally split a network right down the middle. Picture this. For almost 15 hours straight, one of the biggest blockchains out there wasn't one blockchain. It was two. It was living in two separate realities at the exact same time. You had two competing histories, two totally different versions of the truth, all because one little thing threw the whole system into chaos. And here's the part that'll really get you. This massive network-breaking event, it wasn't some super sophisticated hack or a coordinated attack. Nope. It was all triggered by just one single messed up transaction sent out to the network. That's it. And that's when things get really serious. I mean, look at this quote from Charles Hoskinson, Cardano's co-founder. He said he alerted the FBI. This tells you everything you need to know. This wasn't just some tech glitch that a few devs were going to fix in a chat room. No, this was seen as a potential attack on a major financial system, serious enough to get law enforcement involved. Okay, so that's the big question, right? How does a huge, global, decentralized network just split in half? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of what actually happened here. So the technical term for this is a chain partition. The best way to think about it is like a choose-your-own-adventure book. The story's going along fine, and then suddenly it forks into two completely different plot lines. The computers that run the network, the nodes, they just couldn't agree on the rules anymore. One group said, yep, this transaction is good, while another group said, no way, that's invalid. And right there at that single point of disagreement, poof, two separate blockchains were born. What's super interesting is how the split happened. It was basically a division based on software versions. You had the poisoned chain, which was run by computers using the newer but, well, buggy software. They're the ones that accidentally accepted that bad transaction. Then you had the healthy chain, which was kept going by nodes running older, more stable software. They saw the transaction and correctly said, nope, not happening. And for more than half a day, these two parallel universes just existed, running at the same time. So what was this bug? What was the little piece of code that caused all this chaos? Let's put it under the microscope. It was a classic dormant bug, like a sleeper agent hiding in the code. This thing was introduced way back in 2022 and just sat there, completely harmless, never triggered. It was buried in a really specific part of the code that deals with staking. All it took was one very specific kind of transaction, one with an oversized digital fingerprint, or hash, to act as the trigger. That one weird transaction finally woke the bug up, and boom, it exposed the vulnerability in a whole range of the network's software. And this timeline, man, it shows you just how fast everything went down. The craziest part? The day before the main event, engineers actually saw this exact same bug pop up on the test network. It was like a fire alarm going off. But they didn't have enough time. Before a fix could get to everyone, a nearly identical transaction hit the main network. The chain split in minutes. The good news is the response was also incredibly fast. They pushed out patch software, and by about 10:17 p.m. that night, enough people had upgraded that the network basically voted with their software to kill the poisoned chain and come back together. Okay, so this whole story isn't just about Cardano. What it really is a fantastic, real-world stress test. It shines a huge spotlight on how different blockchains think about disaster. What do you do when everything goes wrong? Let's compare the three big strategies out there. All right, so you've got three of the biggest names in the space, and each one has a totally different philosophy for handling a crisis. Cardano's philosophy is all about liveness. Just keep the engine running, no matter what, even if it means you have two realities for a while that you've got to merge later. Solana's is about uniqueness. If there is even a hint of a problem, it slams on the brakes, the whole thing halts. And then there's Ethereum, which is all about redundancy. Basically safety in numbers. They have a bunch of different software clients running with the hope that a bug in one won't crash the whole system. So with Cardano, the motto is basically never go offline. And that's exactly what we saw. Both the good chain and the bad chain just kept on chugging, producing blocks. Now, the trade-off, of course, is a whole lot of confusion for a little while. It requires the people running the nodes to step in, upgrade their software, and actively choose the right reality. It's all about keeping the lights on no matter what. Solana? Totally the opposite. It basically has one main software client. And we've all seen what happens when that client hits a big bug. The whole network just stops, dead. It goes offline, sometimes for hours, until the validators can get together and coordinate a full restart. Their goal is absolute 100% certainty. No bad transactions get through, ever, even if it means shutting the whole thing down. Ethereum's strategy is kind of like diversifying your investments. It's a hedge. They have several completely independent software clients. You've probably heard of Geth, Nethermind, there are others. And the thinking is, what are the odds that a critical bug exists in all of them at the same time? Pretty low. And we've seen this work perfectly. Just in early 2024, there was a bug in the Nethermind client. The nodes running it went down, sure, but the rest of the network didn't even blink. It just kept going without a single hiccup. And this is a huge but. There's a catch with Ethereum's model. This safety in numbers thing only works if no single client gets too popular. If one client, let's say Geth, becomes so dominant that it's running on more than 2/3 of the network, well, then you're right back where you started. A bug in that one client could halt the chain, and the whole point of having diversity is gone. It becomes a single point of failure all over again. So we've walked through this whole near catastrophe and the incredible recovery. What did we learn? What are the big takeaways, not just for Cardano, but for the entire crypto space? Let's break down the lessons we learned from staring into the abyss. All right, lesson number 1. Old code can be a time bomb. You've got to test everything aggressively. Second, client diversity. It's not just a nice to have, it's an absolutely critical defense. Third, you need a plan for when things go sideways. A documented disaster recovery playbook is a must-have for coordinating a fix. And finally, and this is a big one, you gotta pay people to find bugs. Bug bounties are so much better than having some researcher decide to test their discovery on a live, multi-billion-dollar network. And just when you think the story can't get any weirder, it does. Remember the person who sent the transaction that started this whole mess? The former stake pool operator who came forward? Well, he later claimed he was just following instructions from an AI. I'm not kidding. A truly bizarre 21st century twist to the whole thing. And that brings us right back to the beginning, doesn't it? This whole thing started with a line of code, and it ended with a call to the FBI. It really forces us to ask a huge question about this whole decentralized world. If code is law, what happens when the law is broken? Who's the police? Who steps in when the code itself fails? And maybe more importantly, where is the line between security research and a full-blown attack? That's a question the entire industry is still trying to figure out.